We are here and we are strong. Let's be counted as we move on. Make a difference, change lives as we tell our different stories. We are capable, beautiful. We are born to do great things. We're unstoppable, incredible, 'cause we're differently abled, differently.
Hello there and a very warm welcome on Able Differently. This week, a number of events touching on persons with disability has been the talk of the nation. And if you happen to have missed them, don't worry, because the Able Differently team got you covered.
We've got your back, so stay with us for the next 30 minutes and discover what we have in store for you. I am your host, Caxton Osozie.
And I'm Jane Theuri. Karibuni.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently.
Kenyatta University has been disability friendly, and that attitude is not about to change anytime soon. In the spirit of creation awareness on matters disability, they organized a Disability Awareness Day. Take a look at that story.
Kenyatta University celebrates the Disability Awareness Day every year. This year's event fell on the 29th of June, with many groups showcasing their talents. Being the 9th celebration since it was started, a lot of things have since been improved upon at the institution.
Directorate will ensure that people with disabilities are not facing any challenge when it comes to their mobility and orientation within the university. They ensure that it ensures also that the university is providing the accommodation to the people with disability. Right now, students with disability are more comfortable in KU, unlike before. I can say that KU has done a lot. So I want to thank you. I want to thank the university for the good work it's doing. We have a department for special needs education. This special needs education ensures that we have educators outside the university who will make sure that those learners who are not within KU are getting the correct support or the appropriate support so that they can actually do well in their academic endeavors.
In this journey to have an inclusive community at the university, some partners have come in to fully support them. The Kenya Commercial Bank, for instance, was well represented.
The bank conducts regular trainings of staff on how to transact with customers with different forms of disability, including the deaf, visually impaired, and physically challenged. Trainings are conducted on a quarterly basis to promote awareness and embrace willingness to offer every necessary support. That's why we are here today to showcase our commitment to this agenda. Finally, I wish to commend the great strides the institution has made and to reassure the university's management council of our full support going forward.
The Deputy Director, Special Needs Education, Ministry of Education, Mr. Frederick Haga, is a proud alumni of KU and gladly took us back to his experience in them days.
26 years ago, I was enrolled and registered in this institution as a first-year student.
Mr. Haga, who was the chief guest, gave us a feel of how things were then as compared to now.
When I came, it was so clear in my mind what I wanted to study. I had been invited to come and study a Bachelor of Education Arts, and I wanted to study economics because that had been one of my best subjects in high school. You can imagine my frustration that of my two choices, I'm being turned away. Basically, because of my disability. And when you're a first-year student trying to register, you're so scared if you are told that you might fail if you insist on registering for this program, you'll take off very quickly because nobody wants to fail. That was then. Today I'm told, regardless of your ability or disability, you will be registered in the program of your choice as long as you meet the qualifications or the requirements to be registered.
In conclusion, Mr. Haga tells us a story about the late Vice Chancellor, Professor George Ishiwani, who made a big difference in the university by bringing on board a lot more students with disabilities than anyone else.
The gates of Kenyatta University swung open and admitted scores and scores. Initially, it was those with visual impairment. But then other disabilities, especially those with physical disabilities, also started coming. And other universities were not admitting them. And he set a precedent. Today, we do know that as long as a student with a disability has attained a C+, regardless of the cutoff, he or she is going to get an admission. That is what Professor Ishiwani, may God rest his soul, did. I'm not sure whether he did it at the individual level, but I want to give him credit for having done it at the individual level. Because even if it involved consultations, it is him who had that vision, who had that idea. Ni yeye ndiye alikuwa ameguzwa.
The Ministry of Education was well prepared and donated assistive devices to the university. And in return, the KU fraternity also gifted Mr. Haga with a present. Dr. Mbugu wa Mungai, who is the head of Directorate of Disability Services, DOD, was impressed with the turnout and gave us a brief history of the event.
The idea behind organizing this day was and still is to create greater public awareness about matters to do with disability. Not just matters to do with disability, but also persons with disabilities, to celebrate their achievements, to recognize what they've done, and to remind society that disability is an integral part of our social experience.
Dr. Mbugua admits that they are still, as a university, getting new disability cases not yet addressed by the institution, but are positive in ensuring their needs are also met fully.
Even with the people that have multiple disabilities, those can always be addressed. I am aware of a student who acquired her blindness out of a surgery, having gone through a road accident. This lady lost her eyesight. She became blind. But as well, I know that there is something that went wrong with the surgery to a point where her skull was never closed up completely. Now, if you think about such a student, one might be tempted to give up. But I was quite surprised when this student showed up in our offices looking for a talking scientific calculator. Even I didn't know what that was. It was a learning experience for me. This student is not studying history or English or one of these subjects that people tell visually impaired students to take. That student is taking commerce.
Although he is in content with the achievements at the university so far, Mr. Mbugua foresees a world-class institution in the near future. His parting shot was to the general public to play their roles as human beings in empowering those with special needs.
Support your neighbor, no matter what their disability is. You never know where it could get them. And some people are just looking for a small level of support, a little support, and then they'll be on their way. It just takes you to recognize their humanity. They are different, but they have their own abilities.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently.
Little is known about dyslexia in the public. It is upon this that Phyllis took the initiative to sensitize Ongata Rongai and its environs on matters concerning dyslexia. Take a look at this story.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently.
On the 29th last month, the Dyslexia Organization Kenya took an initiative of creating awareness among schools based in Rongai town and their environs.
Dyslexia Organization Kenya is founded mainly to create awareness about dyslexia.
This came up after realizing that in our country, little information about dyslexia is known to the public.
Dyslexia is mainly about reading. You identify or you see these people by when they go to school by their inability to capture or to be able to read. They do not have any intellectual problem. They do not have anything that you can tell by looking at them that they have a problem.
Dyslexia Organization Kenya was started in 2010 by two twin sisters. They did it after finding out what was going on with their children. Teachers, however, shared with us what they learned from the long training that took a whole day.
I never knew about this dyslexia, but according to how I've been taught today, now I have come to know what is dyslexia and how to handle these children with the dyslexia. For before, I have been coming around children with the dyslexia, but I have been taking it as some habit they have. I have not been taking it as difficulties. I have been taking them as slow runners. But for today, even for now, as I was taught, I was looking in my class and find this child or these children have dyslexia. And now I have some ways on how I can help the children.
Phyllis enlightened the public on some causes of dyslexia.
There are three main causes of dyslexia. One, it can happen to you, me, and anyone, even the most intelligent people, when your mind that processes reading, writing, and spelling or language is hurt. If you get an accident today, when that writing, you forget your ability to read or write. That's called dyslexia. That's called trauma dyslexia. The other cause is primary dyslexia. It's called primary dyslexia. It's actually genetic. It runs in the family. You find in a family you could find 4, 2, or in the wider, bigger family. Yeah, uncles, auntie, you can tell, if there's a person there who is not able to read, there's another. Like in our case, we have like 5 or 6 children who have this condition. So it runs in the family, it is genetic, and nothing anyone can do about it. Then there's developmental dyslexia that is caused by at the fetal development level. You find the parents are told not to take certain things, certain medicine, not alcohol, because at that fetal development, if the child absorbs those chemicals, they can have learning disability. Not only dyslexia, even other learning difficulties, even sometimes retardation.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently.
In the quote of the day, we look at the saying that goes, "Be the inspiration to the world." What's your take on that, Caxton?
Actually, I will say this. Like, don't wait for people to set pace for you, but be the person who sets the pace.
True, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Let's take a short break and we'll be right back with more, so don't go too far.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently. Cause we're differently abled, differently.
Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you are watching Able Differently on KBC Channel 1. Remember to send in your comments or suggestions through the number 22162, starting with the capital letters AD. Orione Community Training Center marked its 3rd anniversary. It has been of great importance to children and youth with intellectual disability. Take a look at that story.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently.
Orion Community Center in Rongai marked their 3rd anniversary on Tuesday. The center has been at the forefront in ensuring that children with special needs are not neglected in the society, but contribute a lot in the day-to-day activities.
Orion Center, we have around 80 regular students with diverse conditions, and we have 3 most important departments, units of the center. That's the education area, the rehabilitation area, and also the vocational training. And indeed, today, looking back at the last 3 years, we are proud of the achievements that we have made. We have children who now can do activities of daily living through the individualized educational plan. We are proud of the rehabilitation area, that is the physiotherapy, mobility of some students who joined the center at a point when they were not able to really move around. We also have some of the children who have benefited from our occupational therapy. Indeed, the center has also started a fully fledged unit of a special speech therapy. We have invested heavily on a speech therapist, and this one is really improving the lives and conditions of people, not only for the children of the center, but also people from around the community who are in need.
So far, so good. The center is happy with the far they have come.
Currently, we have a total of 58 students. For the past 3 years, we have seen a great improvement in our students. We had some students who came with serious delayed milestones. Some were not in a position to feed themselves, to toilet themselves, and even to dress simple attires like shoes, shirt, or even a sweater. Some also had a serious, severe learning disability. But for the past 3 years, we have seen a change. Some now can dress themselves, some can feed themselves, others can take themselves to the toilet. On the side of academics, we have also seen great improvement. Students now can read. They can read simple sounds, numbers, writing their simple names, reading the physical features, and also introducing themselves to these people and also to the parents at home.
Makaa na jioni ya kujanga na kuvaanga nguo kurudi shule. Yes.
Alafu na mwalimu anafanya nini? Mnacheza na wengine, wanawafunza nini?
Na after kutoka PE mcheze na Father Alex. Yes.
Members of the community, both from Kenya and abroad, play a key role in running the center, starting from landscaping to the activities that include rehabilitation, vocation and education.
There were no paths, there were no courtyards, there were no trees. The only plants that we saw were at the back, which is the farm that you see that's also become incredibly beautiful. Then some of you would actually recall that if you needed to go to the loo, you had to be carried.
Yeah, I think we recognized lots of problems when we came here, that the buildings were like islands and the children couldn't just go to have their physiotherapy, they couldn't go to the loo, they couldn't go to the kitchen to eat. So I guess we recognized lots of problems and tried to find very simple solutions for them.
Through a small project, especially within the farming and within supporting the local community into farming skills. So we appreciate very much the work that this project is doing here, especially supporting small community here and to learn them how to farm and how to acquire these skills.
We were very pleased to provide some funding for the purchase of equipment that can be used in the rehabilitation and training of the children who are here. We also last year provided some financial support to assist in the technical training of the children in agriculture so that they could have technical skills. And I've been out on a number of occasions, and each time I've been hugely encouraged by the work that they do. Hugely, fantastically committed board and teachers and staff here, doing wonderful work and actually showing that Kenyans truly support the weak and vulnerable in society. And not only are they giving them skills, but they are also empowering the communities to treat people with special needs as a resource rather than isolate them.
During the speeches, the speakers narrated on the circumstances that made them meet with Father Alex, who runs the center.
A few years back, I think that was in 2014, Father Alex came to my office. Then I was the director of business permits at the county government of Nairobi. And he was telling me he is being harassed because he was bringing farm produce from Thika, and as a requirement, he needed to pay tax. So for him, it was difficult because whatever activities he was involved in was charity work. Then how do you ask him to pay taxes? So he came to my office and we discussed, and eventually we gave him a tax exemption letter, and I hope he stops paying taxes from then.
I've been working with this kind of children and people for more than 20 years, and I can tell you today that is the best university that I have attended about life, about the dignity of life. And I have really understand how important it is to understand diversity. A word that today we listen so often in every university, in every program, we listen diversity, but it was with them where I understood that diversity, it is necessary, that the diversity, it is important, and those who are more vulnerable, it's our duty to work for them. It's not an option. It's not one duty that we can say yes or no. It's our responsibility, because we can see how developed is a country or a nation, not when we look the wonderful buildings, not when we look wonderful car or wonderful highway. It's when we see how we treat the most vulnerable people.
The center has brought the community together, a move that has helped in disability awareness creation.
We are trying to go an extra mile to do what our founder has always called us to do, that is helping the most vulnerable. And our founder says that in the human people, the human person, and especially in the vulnerable, we see the image of God. And so it is important for us to go an extra mile, or to go that extra mile to make sure that every person is comfortable, every person is catered for, and every person feels part of our society. And so that's what we are doing. Although we have the challenges, the society has not yet accepted that we have to give the best to everybody, and not necessarily the normal children, as we in our African society believe that we have only to look at those who can give back eventually when they finish their studies.
All the activities done at the center work towards the interaction of children at the center and the community at large, especially farming.
For us initiating this project where we do farming and sell the produce to members of the community is to facilitate integration with the children who study in this center and the communities where they come from, for them to appreciate what these students can do, the capacity they have been able to acquire over time through the training through the center, and more importantly for members of the community to appreciate that they are part and parcel of the growth and the development and the sustainability of the center through the various produce that we sell and the monies that we obtain from the sales, which are used for purposes of sustaining the institution.
The event ended on a high note with calls to make the center even better than it is currently.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently.
Let us take a look at the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability.
'Cause we're differently abled, differently.
That's all we had for you today. Stay tuned next week, same time, as we give you more insights on persons with disabilities.
Remember to send in your comments through the number 22162, starting with the capital letters AD. I'm your host, Jane Theuri.
And me, Caxton Osozi. Goodbye.